Here comes Jonathan. Here comes Jonathan. Right down Flamingo.
Hey, took the words right out of my mouth. All right. Now that we're fashionably late as always,
Indeed. Shall
gotta
I
make sure the
play
phone.
the intro?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go over here and do the same thing.
Okay.
You're live in 3, 2, 1.
Really
Whoa!
should have had my phone, but it's all right. I can. We're still learning. It's episode 7 of Only Frets, and we're still freaking learning. How y'all doing?
Looks like Mark
Hope you're doing
Spurgeon's here, and he's going to the doctor's, so he'll be lurking in the background.
sweet.
Yeah.
Hello. All right. So, Sean,
Yeah.
how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. It's been we've had a busy couple of weeks, the both of us. And it's good to be
Yeah, say the
back.
least. I know it. I know it.
Yeah, man.
You got something rather interesting in your lap.
Hmm.
What is that?
This is my my little flying V monstrosity here. Um, it was a $165 neck, body, and pick guard kit. Um, I had to I had to buy my nice 70s style uh, truss rod cover. Bought a new nut for it. These are what are these? Gotos or Geikers? I think Geikers tuners. Very nice vintage style. Some what we got here? Roswell pickups. One gold,
Nice.
one silver, and some of your standard Amazon purchased things, all that stuff, and it's been constructed here in my house where I live. Jonathan, you have something interesting on your lap. What is it?
Yeah. So, anybody that knows their guitars might know what this is right away. This is a first act Volkswagen guitar. Very interesting, these things. I do have a video coming out relatively soon, maybe in the next couple weeks, where I talk about these kind of in depth and kind of explore the brand of First Act a little bit. Um, because I actually have 2 first acts. But anyway, the long and short of this was the only way that you could get one of these Volkswagen guitars was if you bought a Volkswagen, I think back in 2006.
Right.
And the whole thing with it was that they were meant to be plugged into your car, and you could play through the speakers. It's got a built-in like distortion and preamp kind of thing in there, and it actually plays really really well. Sounds kind of cool. I can't play well, but the only thing I will say is you might notice that the pot there is a little scratchy. The neck pickup, I can't. I think there's something going on with this switch. What else was wrong with it? I think that was really the only thing. When I went into one of my local shops, I kind of picked it up. I was like, oh, I've never played one of those. And I kind of sat down with it, and I told the guy, he's a friend of mine. It's like I'm having like a Jack White moment here.
Yeah.
Like where I'm like,
Yeah.
it's that weird, quirky, like really inexpensive thing that you're just like, oh, I resonate with this. But it's a really nice guitar. These kind of are dogged on a little bit. People say that they're terrible, but I think that's the stigma that surrounds First Act, which is kind of my point in the video. But you'll see it when it comes out if you're subscribed.
Yeah. Before we get into the segue, which you've lined up just perfectly for us into our topic, I just want to say what's up. We've got, as I mentioned, Mark Spurgeon. We got Jimmy Bitter over here on my channel. Yubi is here. 2 Yards is here. All these guys are running their own. We talked last week about corners of guitar YouTube. So all these guys are doing their own thing. So if anybody pops in and sees people in my chat, go check out their channels. Besides that, it's what you have there is a beginner guitar, and
Yeah.
Jack White can take one of the, UB just mentioned Slash actually did the advertisement for that guitar, and he played it through the speakers in a Volkswagen, I believe. They like rigged it up.
And John Mayer did too.
Oh wow, I didn't know. I didn't know about John Mayer.
And then who was the other guy that did it? The guy from I can't think of his name. I can't think of the band. I'm blanking out. But another big. Y'all, let me know in the chat who it was. I talk about all that again in the video. But yeah, interesting commercials for these, to say the least. They're very interesting guitars.
But it's a beginner guitar, and all of those guys are able to take that guitar and make it sound freaking amazing. How did they do that? How do you take a cheap guitar and make it sound great?
Well, a lot of people will say it's in the hands, bro. It's tones in the hands, and I agree with that to some degree. I don't essentially just sit and say, yeah, you can't sound like this person just because it's not in your hand. Like, really, if anybody can play a chord, I mean, you couldn't blindfold somebody and have two people play it and say, yeah, I can definitely tell that that's Slash playing that or whatever. I mean, it's a chord. It's more in the mannerisms of how you play, things like that. So, I mean, obviously, yeah, with more practice, you're going to be a better player. And it's just, I don't think it's really much as the player as it is the guitar itself, to me personally. If the guitar's set up well,
for tone,
if it's right. It gets into that whole, like, where does the tone really come from debate. And I know that's kind of like I don't know. I don't want to say it's a whole separate thing because that could be a topic, but who knows?
I think they're combined. Like, yes, you are going to, certain guys, like if you, what did I learn? Oh, if you tap and you pull up with your finger instead of down, like you flick up off the string when you're tapping, you can get a really cool harmonic.
Hold on.
It's different.
Yeah, because I can tap,
yeah,
down.
But if you're flicking, some guys flick up towards their face when they're tapping, and that creates.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and it creates like a completely different harmonic in that way, where it's so like little idiosyncrasies can add to your tone, but the bigger issue is like like you were saying, guitars set up well. You have a good you have a good amp, or a good modeler or whatever, and you have a good ear for tone, so that your stuff's dialed in such a way that it sounds good. The other part is, do you have technique under your fingers that allows you to do the things that sound good on guitar? And the best way to get there is freaking practice.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good point to say too. It's more of the technique than it is just like you have these mystical hands or whatever. I mean, it literally is just practice and getting that technique. It's like, okay, here's another good example. Like, Eddie Van Halen, known for the tapping, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what everybody knows him for. I can tap somewhat, like I said before, but I'm never going to sound like him for whatever reason. Could it be the gear? Could it be just my technique is not as good? As you saw there, it's not that great. But then again, it always comes down to, well, you're just not him.
Right.
Is there any truth in that? I don't know. I mean, it could be, but I'm not him because I didn't practice like him. I didn't grow up in the era. Who was it that said, I watched a video the other day, and it was basically looking at Eddie Van Halen. Like, he had to learn how to do a bunch of the stuff that he did on guitar because he didn't have all the stuff that we have now that does that kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, he had to focus more on his technique than kind of where we're all like, oh, we got the new amp and the new pedal that does this. And then, this part that you can mod onto your guitar. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it really just comes down to your technique is what it is. It's not there's no mystical thing behind it. It's just practice.
Right.
And I know that's the
Well,
boring answer that no one wants to hear, but that's the way the world works.
it is. And to your point, like I just finished, which I will have a video on coming up, and I've gotten permission uh from Robert Baker himself to show some of the clips from the 80s lick course, the 80s licks
Oh
course
yeah.
that I just completed. I finished it at like 5:30 in the morning. I woke up like at like some ridiculous hour, you know, kid dad life, and I was like,
Yeah,
well, I'm
no,
going to go downstairs and practice. And so, I plugged in through the headphones on and finished up this 80s licks course. And he broke down that course in styles based on prominent 80s guitarists. And
hmm.
the why that's cool is exactly what you're talking about, because now I can practice oh, what's his name? Uh it's really difficult. It's better, like I've been working on it, but this tapping thing is like, and that like the whole run, and then he's got the same backing track where he's doing it like Satriani, or whoever Vito Bratta, that's who does the weird tapping thing. And so like, because Robert has practiced, so, and he's such a good teacher, he's able to convey the technique, and then you can take it upon yourself to practice the technique over and over and over again until you have it down and you can achieve the sound of anybody. But it does
Right.
take practice.
It does, yeah. I mean, yeah, and it's like even, and it's like little nuance things too. Like I like Jared James Nichols a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So something that I learned from him, I've never really used it in a musical context because it's one of those things that I have to just kind of explore more. But and I'm sorry, my pot's a little scratchy there, but
Oh, you're okay.
it was essentially like how some people like bend behind the nut and kind of stuff. It was like something like that. You do a bend, but then you slide up and also bend higher up. So it's
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, that is so him coded. Like it's something that you would hear and it's like, that's Jared James Nichols.
Yes.
It's the little nuances like that that give it away, and that's stuff that you just develop over time, which is where I think people, when they say tones in the hands, it's the nuances, but that also ties it to technique. So it's like you were saying, it's we keep going back to it. It's just practice, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's targeted though.
Yeah.
Quick shout out, Tony Sirius just showed up, and Amanda Coombs is here, so I want to thank you guys for dropping by as well and hanging out with us today. But like John Mayer was obsessed with like Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then he covered Axis Bold as Love on one of his albums. I'm failing to remember which one, but it was incredible. And like he's nailing it. He's not on the exact same guitar. He's not like, whatever, things are different. He's playing through a Dumble instead of a Marshall or whatever. But it's like, it's there. It sounds like, you know what I mean? It sounds like Jimi Hendrix, because he literally sat in his room when he was 12 and played through the entire Jimi Hendrix catalog over and over and over again. It was like, oh, that one little bend, it's not quite right. And then he went back, rewound the tape, or skipped back a track on the CD player and, found it and did it again until it got it right. So, I mean, you have to be a little bit obsessive if you want to nail somebody else's tone. Now, if you're looking for your own, what then? We talked about our guitar journeys and like how we kind of got to where we are, and how like I started writing first before practicing and like really trying to nail other people's tones. And your journey was a little different, where you probably put in more practice time on the front end. which is why you're a better guitar player than me. And you know, it's just interesting. What I wouldn't give to like be able to go back and just say like, forget football. Like I'm just gonna sit in my room and play guitar. Like I'm not gonna go pro, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, and with practice, it's one of those things that you kind of got to make fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Backing tracks have gone a long way to that end for me.
yes, backing tracks go a
Yeah.
long way. Now, though, there's such a left and right with that, like a good and a bad, because you can kind of get lost with just the mindless kind of noodling. Like if you just learn, you know, pentatonics, and you're just over there just like, you know, just doing. Obviously, I'm not playing that great today, but just doing stuff like that in the same kind of box. Like you're working on that, but
Yeah.
you're not working on like expanding to like another box or like throwing a mode in there, or you know, because that some people get so linear in their playing where that's what they'll do is they'll just kind of stay, oh, I'm gonna go here, da 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 da, and just kind of whatever. But and I was that way for a long time too, but I think it was more or less I want to make sure that I have that down pat. So with the backing tracks, yes, they're good for that, but you can kind of get stuck in that comfort zone, which I think a lot of people do. They get stuck in a comfort zone, and you just got to learn to branch out from that.
Yeah.
Backing tracks again help that. And what you can do with that, find them in different keys. You know, don't just say, well, I know how to play E pentatonic, so I'm just going to play nothing but the key of E. Go to the key of G.
Yeah.
Go to the key of B. That's one key that I have. B and C really are like my
Bugaboo.
downfalls there. But yeah, I don't know why, but they always still trip me up. But
We all have them. You know,
Yeah.
to that end, and I swear this isn't like a plug, although it kind of is. You should definitely, like, if anybody wants to take lessons, Robert Baker is the best teacher I found. True Fire is a great place too, but like, so he in the 80s licks course, he gave 2 backing tracks, which is awesome because what you do is you go through the lesson, you get what you can under your fingers, and then you play the backing track, and like right after that, and then implement, right? So the way his things are set up is like you can implement right away. So like he did this lick and it was and that was like an A minor.
Yeah.
It's dang it. And then he goes like a crazy jump. Anyway, I'm just but I was able to the video when I do my sort of I film myself practicing these and like playing it really poorly, and then the idea is to play something sort of what would you say, like decent for the video, and so it'll take like 15 takes probably, but whatever. I have a bunch of video of me playing everything crappy, so I'm not trying to fool anybody, but like I was able to take that and then I'm just gonna play it up here. Where's the and now we're in A major.
Yeah.
And so it's the same lick, but you just shift it around until it fits the key that you're going into. And once I made that link in my brain that like, oh, I can just move this stuff around. There's another thing that Robert did a really great job hammering home in every video course I've ever taken from him. It's like, once that clicked, my soloing got way, way better. And then, so my next question would be, I benefited greatly from online lessons. Did you ever take in-person guitar lessons, like down at your local music shop or from a guy on, you know, in the online or anything like that?
So I've never had an in-person music lesson.
Okay.
I'm practically all self-taught, you know, minus like maybe I've looked up a lesson on YouTube every so often, but really like everything that I kind of know how to do, I just kind of have done it myself. One big example I think would be from taking something from somebody online was how I learned to do modes
Okay.
because I always heard modes were so big and whatever. And I only took like half of the information. Like I can play them and I know the shapes and everything because I took some advice that someone had given and I kind of crafted it in my own. But I don't know like which one's Ionian or which one's Lydian or like I just play it and I'm like, oh, it sounds cool. And I'm just
Right.
like, I'll just run with that. But then I can kind of work off of that. So yeah, so never had an in-person lesson. I kind of just take lessons or like take my own interpretations from people that I see online, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Rick Beato does those little quick lessons, kind of things, um, stuff like that.
I think I'm
Or like the Jerry
with
thing.
you. Like I took one in-person lesson from a guy here in town who is like a local kind of gigging guitarist and a really nice guy and probably is a fine teacher. But I was so young. I think I was like maybe 15. I had zero attention span to sit in a room with somebody and have them show me things and me be crappy at them like right there in that moment. But
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people, like Landon Bailey, he goes and takes lessons down at the local guitar shop where he lives in Canada. And
Yeah.
you can see like literally from the video where he said he was going to start taking lessons to now how he plays now. Like he's always been a rhythm guitarist, so to speak, but his soloing has gotten way better. And I don't know if it's more about how you take the lesson or just doing it in general, like having the the self motivation to sit down with your computer screen or your guitar teacher in person. Some people find making the appointment, it's like you're gonna go, you paid for it, you're gonna go. But it's the same way online. I paid for Robert's course, I'm gonna go through it eventually.
Right. Yeah, get your
So
money.
I think it's more about the person taking the lessons than where you're getting them from personally.
Right. Something like someone that I've always kind of seen is I don't know how they did it. Maybe it was just through whatever, but they're obviously a little more privileged. Lee Anderton. If you go back and you watch early Anderton's videos, they're all on Rob Chapman's channel. But if you go back and watch those and like listen to his playing, obviously he's a pretty decent blues player. But man, you listen to him play now, and it's like he has come such a long way. And I don't know if that's, obviously with him running a music store, he could just sit and say, "Oh yeah, I got music teachers back here. Let me go sit with them for an hour or whatever, just on my dime," right? Or if it's just him playing.
Or Pete,
yeah, I mean,
Pete being in there rubbing off on him.
Pete in there doing all that. Yeah, I mean, it's that those are people too that sometimes you just look at and it's like, how did they do it? And you want to look at them and say, well, if they took in-person lessons, then maybe I should, because that's clearly the way that works, especially if you've seen them progress. Or like even with Landon Bailey, he says, yeah, I can credit my playing getting better to in-person lessons versus you, where you're like, I can credit mine to online. It's one of those things where it's like, just whatever works for you, run with it.
Yeah.
Figure it out. A lot of places will like, I don't know any places off the top of my head because I got the one music store in my town or whatever. But if you're really like an aspiring player, a lot of places will give you the first lesson for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
For Guitar Center, sometimes you buy a guitar, they give you the first, 2 or 3 lessons for free or whatever it is.
I mean, if you took a vacation from work and you wanted to get better at guitar and spend a whole week doing that, you could get 7 days free on TrueFire. You can get, Robert has all the YouTube freebie lessons up with tabs and backing tracks and stuff that you can go take. I mean, a lot of places are following that same model. You get your first week online for free. You get your first lesson, your first hour down at Guitar Center or whatever for free. I mean, I think it's the barrier to entry is pretty low as far as like getting started with lessons.
Well, plus in like online lessons too, especially if it's like, well, obviously it's like a video of it. You have an infinite amount of time where you can just be like, oh, what's that part? Oh, what's that part? Oh, what's that part? And if you're in person, I don't know, you kind of have that thing set in the back of your head, like, oh, this person's going to get frustrated with me if I can't the right way, like how
There's pressure. Yeah.
Right. But then you have that extra, like, you have somebody there that can like put your hand where it needs to go, or like show you in person, slowly.
Yeah.
I know someone on a video might do that, but they may not do it in a way that you understand. But if you have somebody there where you can change it real time, it's like, can you show me a different way? So again, it works for different people. You got to find the benefit in both. You got to take the negative with both, and you just got to kind of adapt in your own. It's like anything else that you try.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to experiment. So.
Good point. Yussi just said he would always recommend practicing standing up if possible.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah.
Really good. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's a really good point. Something that you mentioned that you do is also a really good practice thing, is recording yourself in any way that you possibly can, video, audio, and listening back to it. That was something that I took the advice of, I don't remember who it was that said it. A million people have said it, but where I heard it, especially video. If you can get yourself, just set up your phone, video yourself playing something,
Mm-hmm.
you can critique that to no end and just be like, oh, I didn't play this. How am I? And then you have a visual of what you're doing from what someone else would kind of see you as, or like maybe as a guitar teacher would see you as. It's like, oh, I can't stretch that way with, my ring finger. So let me try to utilize my pinky a little bit, or something like that.
Yeah.
You'll see it and you kind of make that mental note. Or, it's like, oh,
Like
I'm
watching
sliding
game
too far
film.
up.
Like if you're playing a sport and you go back and you watch the game tape with your team and you figure out where
That is exactly.
Yeah, it's great.
Exactly the same kind of deal.
This is actually the 80s Licks course is the first time that I've actually done that. But with putting videos up on Instagram, starting on Instagram and then moving over to YouTube, I have basically a full record of what taking lessons has done for me. And just, a side street to walk down here. Do you think that making guitar content is a good amount of like a healthy amount of motivation to get better at guitar because you're putting yourself out there?
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. It's because you are putting yourself out to an audience that somebody is going to critique you for something. If you're a guitar player, it's going to be your guitar playing. I mean, it's just the way that it is. Or it's going to be your tone, or they don't like the color of your guitar. It's going to be something. And, excuse me, it's very hard to get that vulnerability up to be like, hang on, my camera went dark. There we go. I just don't want to lose that on the feed. It's very hard to get that vulnerability up to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to put myself out there and for XYZ reason, whatever, and I don't care what other people think. That was a big, big struggle of mine. I've always been very shy. I was always very diagnosed with social anxiety when I was in middle school, coming from just how I grew up with, other kids and stuff. And I branched out so much. YouTube has kind of been a big form of that, because It's like you learn to accept those critiques. You learn to be like, who cares, right? Sometimes you get helpful advice from other people. And that's something else too that maybe ties in with like lessons and stuff. Is like, you can make a video on something, you could be playing something, and someone say, why don't you try this? And then you try it and it works out. You never know. So, but you won't know until you actually take that step to say, you know what, I'm just gonna set it up, press record, and see what happens.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, getting into the online space has absolutely made me a better guitar player for a litany of reasons. And one of those is being motivated to be better. I mean, my Friday night live streams are basically, I practice guitar and chat with people that show up and hang out with me. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm just playing.
But you're making practice fun at the end of the day is what, so that's a good thing because it makes you want to practice. You look forward to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like Jimmy Bitter here is saying it took him a bunch of live streams to get over the anxiety. Absolutely, Jimmy. And Jimmy Bitter, by the way, Jonathan, you should check out the channel OU812. Jimmy, link the channel in the chat if you want. But they do live streams and they play like to backing tracks and they talk and stuff like that. They're so good, all of them. Jimmy's an incredible guitarist. So
I'll
like
check it out.
that's a really fun live stream. And that's the next point, which is that the community here. So like I talked about this to Super Danger in my interview with him. I'll say it to you and I'll say it to the people in the chat who are running YouTube channels. All of you have motivated me to do this. It's like I found a friend group that I can hang out with in some capacity, and talk about my favorite thing, which is playing guitar. And it all just stirs up into this pot of like, I'm gonna carve out time to practice because I know Jonathan's making his next video and it's gonna be a banger, and not in a competitive way, but like in a way where it's like, you're on a podcast with me. It's probably a bad look if your podcast partner is like absolute trash at guitar. Like, you know what I mean? Like not that I am, but
Right.
like if I were to just be an absolutely terrible guitarist, then
Yeah.
my word wouldn't mean anything, And guys, like I've noticed, you know, uh 60 cycle hump Ryan at 60 cycle has gotten better. He addressed it in a video a couple years ago called like, why am I so bad at guitar? And he's like not a bad guitarist at all, but like,
Right. Yeah.
people get wrapped up into seeing the best guitarists that the world has to offer on demand at a click of a button on YouTube. And they forget that there's
Yep.
all of us out here, mortals that are just trying to get better. So I would
Right.
say the friend group that I have online has motivated me even more than like watching Tyler Larson or Paul Davids or somebody like that, with
Right.
millions of subs. Like those guys don't motivate. If anything, you watch it and you're like, geez, Louise,
Still
But
motivated.
yeah, but like my bros on YouTube definitely help like lift me up in their own way, So
Yeah.
I appreciate you for that reason and many others.
Yeah. Well, that's like I said. It's community. It's one of those you can't raise a kid. It takes a village to raise a kid, kind of thing.
Yeah.
With guitar players, if you have a beginner guitar player, sometimes it takes that community. Not saying you're a beginner, but I'm just saying it takes that community of other people to be like, here's something that I can do, but you can do it too. Because trust me, I was at your stage at one point. Something that I saw before. I keep going back to these, but I love their videos. Years ago, Rob Chapman and Lee Anderton did a video where they were trying to play left-handed. I don't remember if they had left-handed guitars, so they actually had left-handed guitars. But Rob Chapman said, hey, I used to teach lessons, and he's a great guitar player.
Yeah.
And he would be trying to show somebody something, and they'd be like, oh, I can't ever be as good as you, and blah blah. And he said, you know what I used to do? I used to take my guitar, flip it upside down, because if you do that, it's just like
brand new.
You lose every bit of. It's like I can't do this. You give me a left-handed guitar that's not strung upside down, and I can't do it. So it's like to say you can't do it. For God's sake, I see people that don't have arms that play with their feet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no excuse. There's no reason to say you can't play guitar. There's just none.
It's more like you won't.
Right. It's like it's and I don't like to call people lazy, but it's laziness. No.
It can be.
It's you making excuses for something that you want to do, but you are upset that you don't have that instant gratification.
You're like succumbing to imposter syndrome in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's one thing that's like you just gotta. It goes back to our first thing. You just gotta stick with it, practice, and you will get there.
I was my
Nothing's impossible.
you know, guitar is great because like you said, it's not instant gratification, but the instant that you get it, you get so much gratification. This is like I was
Right.
with my, practicing with my kid. Sidebar, the headstock broke on that Epiphone power player, and I
No.
I fixed it, and it's like sprayed over the damage and filled all the holes and stuff. But I fixed it. I was able to fix the headstock, and it's playing great.
Mm,
So but he took a couple. He took like a week of like he didn't touch it because he was thinking it wasn't as good, and so we had to talk outside. I was like, Daddy fixed that. Like you can play it. You know, uh, you can play it just like you did before. And then he ran in. Once we got over that like mental hump, he ran in and played, and then he asked me to play with him. So I was trying to teach him Iron Man, as you do.
yeah.
And he loves that song, and so he learned a G power chord, and I was like,
Yeah.
now bro, just slide that bad boy up, and so we just learned it in the key of G, because why not? Like he already knows that one. He's got a good home base. So like
Yeah.
I started showing him, and we played for like, I don't know, like a half hour or something, and he was focused and he was like into it, and once he got it, he's 7. It was like once he got it, it was like you could see the endorphins release into his eyeballs. Like he was so excited, and
Yeah.
that's great. Like kids are kind of like a window to the simplest parts of who we are. And
Oh
so,
yeah. No, I get it.
you know what I mean? Like they're so pure. So you're like, that's how I felt when, that's how I'm going to feel when I nail that Vito Bratta tapping technique in tempo to the backing track,
Right.
And quick heads up, Ted Talks Guitars and Life has joined the chat. Welcome, Ted. How you doing, brother? He's
We are
doing
also talking guitar in life.
We are also talking guitars and life. We're taking a page out of Ted's book. Another great YouTube channel. Such a nice guy. Lots of tinkering, and he's doing a pedal board. He's doing like a little pedal board series where he's building a pedal board, and I wanted to give you an update on what I'm doing with what you gave me the other week. Oh, let me drop the wah real quick, brother.
Nice.
Dude, we've got
It's
2 fuzz options. Got an overhive. We've got into. I also have a Dunlop Jimi Hendrix wah that I picked up from a buddy the other day, and that is all going to go into the Pocket Master. I have an excellent JTM model on here that I uploaded, and then that's
Mhm.
all going to route through the Line 6, so I can put these effects it's going to be a trick. I'm not sure how to do it. I feel like it should come after the amp. Usually delay is like a post effect. So this is one of those DL4s from the same buddy. He bought this when we were in college living together, and he was going to get rid of it. I was like, no, give it to me. It's part of the family,
Right.
we we recorded an entire like loop session on this with a microphone where we were saying douchebag or different forms of the word, and like made
Yeah.
a beat out of it or whatever, and we were like 20. So I could never let this go to marketplace, but anyway, this is what I'm
You
doing
still
with
have
the pedal board. I couldn't fit everything from my other board on, so I just decided I'm gonna make 2.
It's got a nice home there on that
Yeah, buddy.
beautiful pepper.
I used it for live streaming the last 2 weeks, and it's just been awesome. So I appreciate you.
No problem, man.
Um,
I'm glad you're building it up.
yeah, dude. Oh, speaking of which, we were just talking about like the motivation and motivating each other in the village and stuff. shout out real quick. 2 Yards and Ubi do record. Ubi does live recording sessions, which is just has sort of spurred me into recording music again, which I haven't really been doing. And
Right.
and then 2 Yards makes like music videos on his channel where he records and then he makes videos. So it's like it's all very
Oh
inspiring,
yeah.
you know.
Right. Yeah.
And I really like I can appreciate that. So the once again the community is inspiring me to keep going and keep practicing because um I can't like step my game up if I'm not putting in that work. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's actually something that I need to get back into actually like writing and recording music because I don't remember the last time that I actually sat down and like recorded a full song like other than a demo for a video or something. It's like a minute and a
Like
half maybe.
your Bogren entries and stuff like that.
Yeah, things like that. But I don't know. That's something that like I could check them out and be like, that might be a motivational thing for me to be like, oh yeah, I need to get back into like take this thing and plug it in and just boom. Because I've always liked the idea of like Trey Xavier, Gear Gods. You know who he is?
Don't know.
I like his channel a lot. He does this thing where his whole thing's about songwriting. He's like
Right.
it's big on songwriting. So it's a great channel to check out if you want to do that.
Gear Gods.
Gear Gods, yeah.
Okay.
I think he might have changed it to Trey Xavier or something like that. But I digress. He does this thing where he basically like Dungeons and Dragons songwriting. So he'll take like a die and roll it, and be like, okay, we're gonna open Superior Drummer, and I'm gonna roll this, and it's like, oh, I got to pack 2, and then I'm gonna roll it again. I'm gonna go to subsection 4, and then I'm gonna do this, and then here's this loop. This is gonna be our section A drum beat, and he's got it. He's like, okay, now I'm gonna roll for the key, and like that's how he does it. And I love that idea of like challenging the songwriting. Yeah, it's a really really unique idea. So that challenge to get into songwriting, I've always kind of liked that idea, and I've wanted to come up with some kind of idea on my own to do that for me is like a personal kind of challenge thing. But I don't know. It's intimidating in a way because it's like I'm not a big improviser, so I feel like I would be stuck on like, okay, here's the key. I kind of have like a riff idea or like a tempo, and here's a drum beat. Let's play it. And then 2 hours later, I'm still on that one part.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, because I feel the pressure of like, I can't change anything. Like in my mind, I got to stick with this. So if something's just not working, I'll just abandon the idea and never come back to it. And so it's one of those like barriers that you gotta break down just to add.
A lot of this is mental, man. Like it's all
it really is
all up here. I really like that idea of playing like rolling die for the game. Like that's a really cool freaking idea, man. I've never even thought about that before.
He's got like a 30-sided, like he's got like an actual like dungeon entry, because I mean he'll have like a pack that's got like 80 samples in it or whatever. It's like, so obviously he has to have it. It's a really 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 cool idea that he does. Yeah, and obviously he's really good songwriter and good. He sings and all that other kind of stuff. He's a cool guy. I think I've never met him. Maybe one day.
Seems like it. I've been really surprised with how well I've been able to judge character online recently. Like I thought you were cool, and you are, and like I didn't. I thought that Alex from Super Danger was probably cool, and he is, and like I thought Nick Perry was really cool, and he is, and I think that these guys I'm hanging out with online, Mark and Yossi and Yubi and like the friend group, Ted and everybody like are cool. They seem that way, and I feel really fortunate because I've been right, and people are not failing that expectation. And
Right.
that's a really good feeling because online can be such a black pit of despair, you know.
Yeah. Well, you're also only ever going to see what they want you to see, you know, and that's been proven time and time and time and time and time and time again, not just in the guitar community per se, but with a lot of, there are documentaries made about people that are like, yeah, they got the nice, perfect family life. And then, but they're actually, you know, out there selling kids to
Yeah.
whatever. And it's like or there's something like so sinister. And it's like,
Right.
okay, that's cool. Those funny edits and jokes that you made in your last video don't say that otherwise. But.
Right. Or like you know, Alex at Super Danger got one of those signature guitars from that Instagram guitarist that D'Angelico did with them.
Oh, the Giacomo or whatever his name
Yep.
is.
And
That whole fiasco. Yeah, I heard about that and I was like, wait, what? Because I was like, that's that guy. I was never like a fan of him, but I was like, oh, that guy.
I
Huh.
feel like the key to authenticity in guitar YouTubing is live streaming. I can see you play guitar. I can hear you play your guitar. I know how good you are. Like, it's not just your video. Like, I've heard you play guitar live, Jonathan. I know you're good. Like, I know that you can really play the stuff that you're putting in your video. You play live in your videos. And like, I just feel like that whole thing could have just been so easily avoided if he would have just done some live streams and played.
Yeah. Well, and then you go back to things where like that whole fake Instagram guitar player scene that's come up time and time again. The one that I remember the biggest, well, the two I guess was what's his name, Manuel something or other. I can't remember his name, but he's like he was over there doing all the weird, you know, tap
yeah.
things like that. And people were like, "Oh, that's got to be fake," because it was just so fluid and fast. But it's like, yeah, maybe on Instagram it was a little more flashy or whatever. But he was like really playing the stuff. It was like,
Yeah.
he would show like, "Hey, I can play this." Da 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 da. It's okay. And then Lucas Mann from Rings of Saturn doing the whole, he was doing a bunch of sweep picking stuff, and he was called out for that. And that was a whole mess. So I was like, oh, just another victim of something like that. But the thing was, he was selling those tabs and scamming people, which seems to be
Right.
the end result of a lot of that kind of that fakery. Which, can you really fake stuff? I mean, it goes back to the whole can you fake music kind of thing.
Well, AI is making it easier.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And that is for sure.
But nothing's ever going to take the place when you watch live music, whether it's on YouTube or in person. That is a feeling that, like, you're not going to go watch the robots. Like, that's not the same feeling, It's just, it's irreplaceable. Like, I live for your intro tracks. Like, when you make your intro tracks, like, those are always just awesome. And I know that you're playing it, like, and it's not, some AI generated thing. And then you're miming. I mean, I know that you do miming for the sake of video, but you also play live in the videos during the demos and stuff. So I can tell that you can actually do what you're miming, when you do it. And I know sometimes you don't, sometimes you do, but I mean, it's
well,
different.
and I mean, I've even like tried, because see, like rhythm and stuff, you can mime along to that. And I've been open and honest about miming and what when it goes too far and all that kind of stuff. So like something that I've tried to do is like mix it up a little bit with rhythm. Yeah, I might mime along with it, but I've tried to write, like if I do a lead part or some kind of like intricate little part, I'll try to do that live. Like whatever you see me playing, and it's not always the case, but sometimes in some of my more recent videos, if you see me playing like a lead part, how I like as I was recording that video of me playing it, it was also recording there.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the take that I kept that you heard.
Yep.
That's a little bit more complicated sometimes because you have to actually play the part well or right. So, but to me, I feel like that's more authentic. It's easier to edit. Let's be honest.
But even more than
it
just
adds
the
a different
guitar
flavor to
playing,
it, I think.
it's like the personality. Like
Yeah,
can tell, it speaks to who someone is more than just whether or not they're actually that good at guitar. Like you always have tried to be forthcoming about everything on your channel, open and honest. Like I think that it was easy to tell that you were a bro before we even started like talking or doing this podcast, because I could tell that you were in good faith with everything, you know. And I think most of the people that I've been fortunate enough to connect with, you know, Robert Baker, I found him on live streams. He used to do these late night lives and stuff. And that's how I kind of fell in love with guitar YouTube in general. And you could tell he was legit because he's talking to you, he's conversing with you, you know. And speaking of which, a couple of things in the chat here I want to point out. Look out for rodents of unusual size in that pit of despair. Thank you for the advice, Ted. As you wish. And then you know, Ubi says my whole motto for his channel is embrace the suck. It's all about not hiding the messy parts, and, you know, being confident in yourself that you're doing the right thing, you're working towards getting better. And absolutely, like, Yubi's a very humble guy. He's a fine guitar player. There's nothing wrong with Yubi's guitar playing whatsoever. But he's humble, and I think he's doing that, frankly. I think my assessment is that he's doing that to keep himself motivated. And I do the same thing. I'm like, that's trash, or I'm crappy, or like all, you know, little ribs at myself to like keep myself honest, right? I want to.
Well, you're always your own worst critic, if I could say that sentence correctly. You're always your own worst critic. Because I find myself doing that all the time. I've scrapped entire video projects or music projects just because I'm like, no one cares. No one's gonna care because it sucks, or it's like I've dragged the video out too long, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, you know what? I've kind of come to the point. I'm working on a video now that I'm editing. It's like 30 minutes long. It's like over 30 minutes long. And I'm like, you know what? I had fun doing it. And if it sucks, I embrace it. It's out there.
Yep.
Tell me.
I mean,
that's at this point, it's like, exactly. But the thing with me is, and maybe this goes back to where I was saying, when you make the video, like I'm in a different position because, you know, I make a little bit of money when people engage with the stuff. But it's like, you know what? Your hate comments, they don't faze me because that's engagement. Mm-hmm. You watched, you clicked on the video, you gave it some watch time, you commented, you affected the algorithm to get it to other people. Whether you dislike it or whatever or not, you may not see it again, but if I earn 2 cents off of your click, like, thanks, buddy.
Right.
The real dumbass. Like,
yeah. You know, it's nice though, because you do have like the Flamingo Gang in there. Like, if I see, I'll leave a comment, but I don't usually go back to your videos and read through all of them. But I do relish your Instagram posts where you highlight a ridiculous conversation or something. And actually, 60 Cycle Hum, Ryan does the exact same thing. He'll like find.
He's where I got the idea from. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, it's so funny, and it actually is probably more healthy than deleting the comment and ignoring that person's existence. It's like,
oh yeah,
we're gonna have this out, you know, we're gonna talk about it. And I think,
and if I gotta air it out, I mean, if I gotta air it out too and just be like, you know, hey, I know you're wrong, I know I'm right, I know all these other people are gonna say I'm right too. It's like, yeah, again, it's content.
Yeah.
Anything for a click. No, but it's, you know, and I don't ever do that in a way, unless someone's just being like vicious to me.
Yeah.
I don't do that in a way to like call somebody out or whatever. It's more of like lighthearted jab kind of stuff. But I mean, if I got to reply back and be like, you know, no, you're stupid kind of thing.
Right.
Like, I'll do it because I'm like, I'm not going to sit and just let you. And I will say the one thing where I can make a million posts about it is my short that I did about the Star Spangled Banner that Jimi Hendrix played at Woodstock. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The way that I'm somewhat of a very small time online villain because of that video.
Yeah. Yeah. That one was crazy, dude. I actually did go back through the comments in that one, and I responded to a few of them.
I get comments to this day on it.
Wow.
Where people are just like, you just don't understand it, and and I'm like, they're throwing the whole, it was a protest to the Vietnam War. I'm like, bro, he has said it's not. He himself, it's recorded, him saying that it was not a protest. But people just, it's that.
He played guitar on acid in front of 100,000 people. Like, that's what happened.
Right. And I'm just like,
and it was awesome.
I'm like,
I think it was awesome just because it was so wild. But technically speaking, you're
right.
Like,
wrong,
it's, you know.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. It's just not something that I actively go like, oh, we need the Star Spangled Banner for something. Oh, let's get Jimi Hendrix's verse. Like, I'm not ever doing that.
Well,
like I'll go and get like a recording of it and or I'll play it myself. Shit, I'll play it myself and do it. I don't care. But
right.
Yeah, that one. And then a lot of people said, because I used like a clip of a kid playing it like a talent show to start it off. And everybody thinks that I'm making fun of the kid. I'm like, did I say I was making fun of him? I'm like, no, I didn't say it was him. I said it was what he's mimicking. And I'm just like, why do people, it's the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, I've got people in there that are just, because when I initially did something like that on Instagram, my Instagram blew up, and I was like, "Am I going viral? Like, what am I doing?" it was rough, but
triggered, bro. Yeah, no, they're triggered. I mean, I remember when and we probably should wrap it up. I have some drywall to do, but
no, you're good.
I remember when the 100 Greatest Guitarists came out.
Oh, geez.
The Rolling Stone thing. And that was like viral pre-internet. Like, I was so infuriated with that list.
Yeah.
They put Kurt Cobain at 13. 13th greatest guitarist of all time. And it's like, influential songwriter? Yeah, sure. He may be right in that spot. Greatest guitarist, and I've seen the footage. I know. Ted, laundry room's coming along great, brother. Firebird video upcoming, hopefully later this month. So like, I know, like, I've seen that, like, all the home recordings and stuff. I've seen him shred Led Zeppelin and stuff. He was all right, but it's like, this is the greatest guitarist, and frankly, Jimi doesn't belong in number one. Like, he's up there for sure, but he doesn't belong in the one spot. To me, I would probably put Eddie Van Halen there. I mean, or maybe even it's like, there are players that are better. Like Yngwie was like below. Yngwie was below Kurt Cobain, if my memory serves.
Well, it's like Steve I was like 80 something, and then Dimebag Darrell was like 60 something. I'm like, look, both great players in their own right, but like Steve I could shred off of anything off of Dimebag Darrell. Like, Dimebag Darrell was great in his own right, but like, no.
Yeah.
Or like Joe Satriani, I don't think he was on the list at all. And I'm like, you're out of your freaking mind.
Yeah, they missed so hard on that. And so, like, I get it. I know where people are coming from, but it's like, there's this thing to like protect Jimi at all costs. And I don't necessarily understand it beyond the fact that he died. And, I don't get why. I get why people loved him, but I don't get why they need to like feel like he's untouchable and nobody could ever do. Like, we just talked about this. John Mayer can play every Jimi Hendrix song note for note, and he's not the only one.
He sucks. But John Mayer is like, oh, I don't listen to him because he's just a sellout pop star. It's like, maybe to some degree, a little bit, but your body's a wonderland, yeah. Like, everybody's the one everybody likes to jump on, but no, yeah, like John Mayer is fantastic. I mean, he's like one of the guitar players. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think he would belong on that list, but like they didn't put Claudio Sanchez on there, and there's no way he's not as proficient as anybody else out there. He's on
Right.
Instagram now, and he is an incredible guitar player, and so is, you know, I mean, there's just so many that I just feel like people have gotten so much better at guitar in general, like as a population. Now, I asked Andy Wood this on one of his live streams, and he said, I said, do you think people have gotten better at guitar in general? And he said, in his experience, not really. Not at the top of the tops. Those people are just as good as they always were. But but in like the middle class, if you will, he thinks there's more people with more knowledge and skill now than before, and I think that's true. It's just the information's so much more accessible.
Well, then I tell you what, I'll leave with a question.
Okay.
Maybe we can cover it. We'll cover it next time.
Okay.
Do you think that those people that live in that middle spot, do they suffer from they learned music theory, so therefore they have no soul, or are they like those mid-level shredders that like they have no soul because they don't boom or bend? If you kind of catch what I'm saying there.
Yeah. Wait, say it one more time so I can remember.
So the mid-level guys,
mm-hmm.
Are they the ones that learn music theory, so therefore they have no soul? Or are they like the mid-level shredders that like shred a million notes? I don't say like, I say mid-level shredder, but like take someone like Steve Vai. You look at the list, like he's mid-tier.
Okay.
That have no soul. Is that kind of, are those the kind of people that they talk about, kind of thing? Like I don't know. We'll work on like I don't know. Maybe I'm not conveying it a certain way that I want to, but
no, we'll get there.
We'll talk about that next time. I think that's a good. Are guitarists losing their soul?
Ooh, because of does learning theory steal your soul?
Yeah.
Or do you have to sell it to the devil to just have it all at the crossroads?
Johnson.
Right? I mean, you either have to sell your soul and just have it in your hands, or you have to give up your soul bit by bit by learning music theory. Do guitar players even have souls? That's funny.
Good question. All of this and more will be answered next week, maybe on a Wednesday, depending. I don't know. We'll see how life plays out. Maybe next Wednesday at I had it so good. 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern.
You got it. Real quick, shout out to people in my chat: Ted, USC, Amanda, UB, Mark, and whoever. Let's see, Randy and Jimmy Bitter. I want to thank everybody for showing up and adding to our conversation today. And we'll catch you all on the next one.
Till next time, guys. Just some work. We'll see y'all later.
Later, guys.